The deep grooves in the sandstone out front of Palmyra Wilson's store set everyone who saw them to pondering. They were the right shape and depth for furrows, but even the new steel-tip plows wouldn't cut through stone. Some of the old-timers spoke of angels landing there in the long-ago days when flights from heaven were as common as grass. Children explained the gouges by reference to giants and falling stars. But people who had their full ration of sense eventually gave up all attempt at explanation and accepted that furrowed sandstone for what it was, one of God's mysteries. When the government surveyor came to run the township boundaries, however, he stood long over the gouges, consulted his compass, and announced that a glacier had carved those marks. His listeners spat in the dust beside his illustrations, unconvinced. Not only glaciers, the surveyor continued, eager to enlighten, but Lake Michigan once spread over all this land and away down south of here, a regular ocean. And not only oceans and ice, my friends, but terrible lizards taller than barns, and horses smaller than dogs, and hairy elephants. By the time his lecture arrived at elephants, only children and old people still listened. They at least wished what he said were true. Palmyra Wilson believed none of it, but he did put a shed over the furrowed sandstone and charged a penny to anyone who wanted a look.
It must have been angels, they must have come round. Holy fire burned through it, this hole in the ground must be the work of heaven, like stars falling from the sky. Angels, yes, that must be why.
No shovel could dig, no sharpness we know could cut through the rock and make the ground so. Must be the work of heaven, like stars falling from the sky. Angels, yes, that must be why.
Must have been angels, they must have come round. Holy fire burned through it, this hole in the ground must be the work of heaven, like stars falling from the sky. Angels, yes, that must be why.
Now listen here, friends, I'm here to survey for good Uncle Sam, and I've just got to say, long ago there was ice that covered this land and gouged great big holes as it slid and it ran. Was no sign from heaven, no stars falling from the sky. Glaciers, yes, that, friends, is why.
But I saw them myself when late I awoke. Angels at my window, and to me they spoke. They said the hole is from heaven, from our home up in the sky. Angels, my friends, that is why.
So we'd like to say to you, Mr. Government Man, that this hole in the ground was made by God's own hand, and your mountains of ice, hairy elephant stories, are fit for the ears of those versed in God's glory.
We know what we see, and the mysteries promise. Our town has been blessed, now head back to your office. 'Cause it must have been
angels, it must have come round. Holy fire burned through it, this hole in the ground must be the work of heaven, like stars falling from the sky. Angels, yes, that must be why. Angels, yes, that